The 2025 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association kicked off with a call by the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Sa'id Abubakar, for the reform of the Nigerian justice system. The Sultan, who chaired the occasion, described the theme of the conference, Stand Out, Stand Tall, as apt, and said judicial reforms in the country are long overdue. The keynote speaker and founder of South Africa's economic freedom fighter, Julius Malema, went down memory lane discussing issues bedeviling Africa. Malema urges Nigeria and South Africa to strengthen the bonds between them. He warns African countries against unnecessary borrowing of money from Bretton Woods institutions like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, saying such borrowings constitute a debt trap. He praised Nigeria's support for South Africa's anti-apartheid struggles and urges closer economic ties between both countries.
Nigeria is not just another African country to us. It is a comrade nation, one that stood firmly by our side during our darkest hour. When South Africa was shackled by apartheid, when our people were murdered, imprisoned, and denied basic humanity, Nigeria rose as a giant for justice, placing South Africa squarely at the center of its foreign policy. This bond between South Africa and Nigeria must be carried forward into the present, not just in political sentiment, but in concrete economic collaboration. Both our nations stand as giants of the continent. South Africa, with its industrial base, mining capacity, and advanced financial system. Nigeria, with its vast population, vibrant entrepreneurial spirit, oil and gas resources, and cultural dynamism that has captured the imagination of the world. Together, we hold the keys to Africa's industrialization and economic independence.
By this theme, you wish to deliver on the expectations of society on your professional mandate. This is spot on. Today, justice is increasingly becoming purchasable commodity, and the poor becoming victims of miscarriage of justice, while the rich commit all matters of crime and walk the streets scot-free.
The theme is more than a slogan. It is a charge to stand out, to be visible, not for show, but for service, excellence, resilience, dedication, focus, perseverance, and service to prosper. To stand tall is to uphold dignity, integrity, and honor, even when the odds are stacked high and difficult decisions must be made in the best interest of the legal profession and the country. Standing tall means being unbending in our defense of the rule of law, equity, and justice, and being principled in the face of power and unwavering in our pursuit of national progress. We must have the courage of conviction in moments where silence would otherwise be more comfortable. To build a strong and economically viable nation, sacrifice will routinely be required of individual citizens. We must do this when others are mediocre. This is a call we must embrace.
I prefer to see us as partners with a shared purpose, ensuring justice, strengthening democracy, and building a society where the law protects every citizen. That is the bond that unites us.
All right, I'm now being joined by Associate Professor Sam Amadi, a rise analyst and director of the Abuja
School of Social
and Political Thoughts. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, you're supposed to be in Enugu.
Absolutely.
All right, but
I was with the neck on Zoom.
But it's great having you in the studios to really dissect the conference, its opening theme, and the rest. But the question most Nigerians will be asking is the Nigerian Bar Association standing tall? That's the theme of this year's conference. And ditto, the Nigerian Judiciary. Is it standing tall?
Well, I think the Nigerian Bar Association under Mazi Sigwe is trying to stand tall. They still have a lot to do, but they're doing very well. They are responding to some of the issues. In fact, at the NEC meeting, which I attended via Zoom yesterday, discussion on the issue around, for example, the so-called Kwam 1, Kwam 2 crisis, issue around attack on the NYSC, issue around police, maltreatment of lack of rule of law were discussed. So the NBA has been kind of more proactive than in the past. And it follows from the tradition of the Sabakobas, the former governor of, Ondo, who died.
Go on.
Former governor. So they try to create a more active bar. So I think AFAM is going about their state. Akeredolu, but they're not yet there. The judiciary is a different ballgame. I think the judiciary is not standing tall at all. I mean, if you look at...
The lawyers make up...
yes, MBA is association.
Yes.
So I'm not exalting the lawyers. Judges are themselves first legal practitioners. Okay? They're not standing tall as an institution, the judiciary. And that's really the centerpiece of the legal profession. Why do I say so? Because if you look at in terms of public perception, by the latest Afrobarometer measure, about 75 to 80% of people have no confidence in the court. And what that means is that they do not believe that the justice system works for them. They do not believe that they can get justice from the court. Again, if you look at even the NJC itself.
Look, the NJC is not immediately here to put up a defense. But
no, but this is perception.
The perception, but the perception in its totality cannot be said to be right.
That's what it's called perception.
Because it is the lawyers who engineer, who instigate all adjournments here and there, or when you hear of a bribery, when you hear of bribery,
it's judges and lawyers.
So
we talk about
the lawyers are the ones who initiate this.
I didn't even say judges. Judiciary is institution where judges and lawyers play.
Yeah.
So that institution lacks public trust, number one. Two, even by the report of the NJC, the regulator, they show several cases of corruption. Recently, some judges were dismissed for falsification of age. Thirdly, which is more important, is that the legal jurisprudence coming from our courts are not standing tall. Look at electoral jurisprudence. Everything about electoral jurisprudence seems to be a way to constrain the electorate's power, exercise their power of mandate. For example, local standby who can petition. You just have to be the candidate to win an election. Elsewhere in the US, for example, civic groups, voters have a right to challenge outcome of elections. And that's part of, I chair the NBA Administrative Adjudication Review Committee, and part of my report I sent to NEC is those legal reforms in terms of law and jurisprudence critical. Again, standing tall, there's a sense in which and the president talked about it in his statement at the NEC meeting, independence of the judiciary. Constitutional independence exists, formal. If you look at the Constitution, forget what we talk about, Constitution is very clear and coherent. Instead that there's independence of the judiciary. But what we have seen is that the judiciary makes itself not independent. One example is ACN. The report that senior advocates, those who are going to be senior advocates, are being asked after they have been proclaimed and verified by the legal professional, privileges committee. DSS is being asked to now go and review them. Now, if accountants want to give professional honor to deserving accountants,
do they send it
would
to
they have to
DSS?
go to the DSS? So the judiciary, the leaders of the judiciary are deliberately making themselves independent in spite of what the constitution says. So the judiciary is not standing tall, and ipso facto, the legal profession in Nigeria today is not standing tall. Afamo Sigwa and his team is trying to move it to stand tall. A lot of work to do. So
I think they have to stand first, just like Julius, Malema is saying. I mean, expanding the coast of this conference, international collaboration.
That's important.
Yeah, he even called for, a Nigerian South Africa to lead the economic revolution in Africa.
I totally agree with that sentiment, but this is the problem. You see, Malawi talks about partnership, and that's true. South Africa and Nigeria, maybe that's the bar should start with that, because South Africa and Nigeria are the leading lights on possible African renaissance and African development. But this is the problem. The conference, by the way, I don't think that Malawi should be the one who should headline this kind of conference. Why do I say so? This is a conference where you need people who know the intersections of law and development, we should by now be thinking about how does law shape development in this country. One of the things that's one of the biggest tragedies is that the legal profession is not playing real key role in economic transformation. I've delivered papers at many international conferences, partly because lawyers are not learning the principles of law and economics.
Well, that's just exactly, probably, you would say, what the Sultan of Sokoto said there as a chair of this year's conference, that the judiciary needs reform. So it must look inward.
Absolutely.
The entire system.
Start with the curriculum change. I have written and argued, and they took me to the duster. When I said the law school looks like almost useless. Why I say so is that professional work, look at accountants, look at other professions, you learn it in the profession. You have to redefine legal education to make lawyers become basically broader perspective, more knowledgeable in intersections of economics, critical, politics, political science or political theory. So what that does is that stop wasting time at the university teaching people how to file briefs. They will learn that when I was a lawyer, when I went to law school, everything I learned, and I did very well in law school. But when I started learning the practical law when I was in Chief Gani's chamber. Think about the way the world is shaping now, AI. Look at the corporate world. Lawyers are supposed to play in that terrain. They will never learn those things in law school. They're going to learn those things working in those corporate settings. So what I'm saying that we start with legal education. We have to improve the quality. If you read some of our judgments in the courts, I'm just being honest with you. If you read a typical European court or Canadian, even Kenya has gone ahead. You read a judgment, you read the Nigerian Supreme Court judgment, you will see a gap. A gap arising from lack of conceptual power, understanding of the concept they're using. Things like access, local standard. I mean, recently, a high court judge says that there's no right to political participation. So the problem with the judiciary is that I think the law is trapped in the practice of the senior advocate, those who go to court. Law is beyond that. The policy aspect of law is not being vibrant. Nigeria has a very strong bar where senior advocates who can quote 50,000 cases in a go. But that's like a mechanic. That's practical.
That law.
That's practical. The framework of law for policy, for economic growth, for security, for social transformation, it's not about what you do in the court. It's the policy side. It's underdeveloped. Many years ago, myself and Sabakoma started what we call development law. It's still underdeveloped. And I would expect that a conference like this will be a conference where you bring a headline guest speaker who will zero in on this point. And so it seems to me that the MBA is doing well, but we need to perhaps do more. And we need to be much more innovative in thinking around since 18-something, when the first lawyer, Sapara Williams, was called to bar. The law has traveled. In fact, if you look at under the military rule, we had a more robust Supreme Court, more robust bar with scholars. I mean, part of Namani, them who came with PhDs and who are lecturers who got to the Supreme Court. If you read the judgments, you see that these guys are masters of classic, the putters.
They were philosophers, yes. Socrates and Aristotle.
Absolutely. So,
they temper those nomenclatures.
So the philosophical depth.
So what has gone wrong now?
The curriculum.
No training and retrain the curriculum.
The law faculties have collapsed to more procedural evidential law. And the legal practice itself, the judicial practice itself, the recruitment process of lawyers. At the time, somebody like Sabakoma wanted to go to the Supreme Court. Now, if you look, even the UK, some of the people who the track towards becoming judges, some of them come from very strong practice and very strong policy side and very strong academic side. So you see that the bench becomes stronger in concept, and then the law itself is released from this crap trap. I mean,
and they can stand tall now.
Look at the body of benchers. You see some brilliant lawyers, some brilliant professors. You see some what I call political lawyers. I mean, some of them never practiced any time, never wrote any book, never worked in university, but they are live benchers. Why? Because they're in power. I mean, I don't want to mention them. Some of the people who are ministers and top guys are live benchers. Not that they make contributions to law, but because they have the power of privilege to dispense goods. So I think the Nigerian legal system, legal practice is in crisis. It's not serving the purpose, and that's when I just truncated. It's not advancing economic transformation. And that's really what I think the Sultan is trying to charge.
And the MBA
exactly.
should
and AFAM is in a position because he's a very innovative, progressive-minded person, but he needs support of all of us to take this back to a different...
To chart this new course, just like Mao did more than 80 years ago. We can stand. That was the first slogan for development.
Absolutely, then we
And
can rise.
That's it. Okay, let's quickly look at another development in the polity. Ohaneze Ndigbo says they will not support a Southeasterner from contesting the presidency with Tinubu.
Well,
Where does this leave the Obedience and Peter Obi?
I think it's laughable first because basically, I don't think there's only one Ohaneze Ndigbo under Senator Mbata. In the past, because of politicians, they created some franchise, that claim by. Of course, I can set up anything, I answer any name. Ohaneze Ndigbo never said that, can't say that for two reasons. One, in the last election, we have 18 parties. And if someone from my community was a presidential candidate, one of my guys who is still probably looking for work. So obviously there will be Igbos on the ballot, whether in a big party or a small party. So that's very illogical, nonsensical. But the bigger point is this. We are going down to the business side of politics. You're going to see franchise rise. I mean, Okechukwu Isiguzo.
Political horse trading.
It's basically mercenary. That's nothing like Ohaneze Ndigbo split. There's only one Ohaneze Ndigbo. First, if you say
headed by Senator Mbata.
If anybody claims to be a faction, show us Imobi, where a holding meeting with the former governors, former presidents. Ohaneze Ndigbo is a respected brand. He can never venture into prescribing who win the ballot. By the way, every candidate in this upcoming election is a Nigerian candidate. And so Igbos who are going to run, if there's any, would run as Nigerians. I mean,
they are not running on ethnic basis.
So there's not like no Igbo will be there. And on what basis? The President Tinubu has created El Dorado in the Southeast, even if, whether it is doing well or not, nobody can say, oh, the Southeast is now more Pope than Pope. We're not better than Southwest, where people are also contesting against him.
He's probably solved all the erosion problem, the gully erosion.
We are not better than Southwest. We're not better than Northeast. We are Northeast should be saying, oh, we're happy. Southwest is where the paint comes from. And people are still, hopefully, may likely challenge him. So this is a nonsensical talk, has no bearing. And again, this is not Ohaneze Ndigbo. There's only one Ohaneze Ndigbo led by Senator Mbata with distinguished leadership, with Imobi, with even myself. I don't even belong to Imobi in spite of whatever pedigree I think I have. It's like a sanctuary where Igbo leaders meet and discuss, not this kind of...
the real Ogbuefis with the red caps and the
so
plume,
this is a shit show, basically.
Thank you so very much, Associate Professor of Law, Sam Amadi, Arise analyst, coming to shed light on the opening of this year's NBA conference.